It's time to drop the puck, so make sure you eat well and that you make your introductions. But before that, we are going to review all that was the fall season. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. And we talk about a loaded show. We can barely talk to each other tonight because there's so much to show everyone.
There is. We are at the point where we're wrapping up the fall season, and the winter season is already underway.
It has.
So we will start with the freshest, the winter part of the program. Girls hockey team dropped the puck for the first time last Thursday, hosting a top 10 team from Wayzata. It was a great test for the Bluebirds and new head coach Todd Gutterman. They held their own against the mighty Trojans for most of the game, learned some big lessons about what they're doing well and what they need to work on. Fighting Bluebirds ready to battle at the creek, and they'd have their hands full. Wayzata got on the board on the power play early in the first. Sammy Hackley with a wrist shot top shelf. Trojans score 5 minutes into the game. They just keep bringing the pressure. Good chance for Sloan Matthews in close, but Sammy Boucher able to shut her down and keep it a one-goal game. It stays that way until the final minute of the first. Wayzata with a shorthanded 3-on-1. Boucher makes a stick save, but Mallory Coffin right there to put the rebound home. 2-0 after one. And they were just getting started. Hackley showed off the speed midway through the second, gets in alone and scores her second of the game. She finished with a hat trick. Wayzata cruised to a 7-0 win. And despite the score, I think the game was a lot closer than that, but Wayzata a pretty good hockey team.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough giving up that shorthanded goal at the end of that first period. I thought that the Bluebirds played really well in that first period. And then I thought Wayzata, when they came out in the second, really dominated play from there on in.
Well, and the big thing for the Bluebirds, I think the big takeaway, stay out of the penalty box.
Yes.
Especially against really good power play teams. Girls hockey team will play at Buffalo on Tuesday. And Howie?
We'll be there.
And they will host Blaine over at the Ice Forum on Saturday. And believe it or not, Howie?
We'll be there.
All right.
After a couple of weeks off, the swimming and diving team dove into section championship meet last week, hoping they would make a big splash. The Cardinals have shown great improvement throughout the season, and this was their chance to prove how far they've come. They had some great finishes, including one of their leaders advancing to the state tournament. Northdale Middle School pool, home of the Cardinals and home to the section championships. We start with the 200 IM. Senior Ella Hacker at the bottom lane is a solid race, but she's going to come up just short of state, finishing third by less than a half a second. Tough one there, almost made it there. But, you know, the podium finish is solid, but that's not what she was shooting for. And not to worry, she had another chance in the 100 butterfly. Hacker in the middle lane this time, and she's side by side with the leader all the way to the walls you're going to see coming up here. Nice start there, and then Hacker's going to punch her ticket to the state with a second place finish and a qualifying time of 57.55. The smile was clearly evident as she took the podium, knowing her season isn't quite over. She wasn't the only one to advance to state, but the Cardinals had 6 girls to make it to the finals. Emma Schmidt has also a great season for the Cardinals, and she finishes her career strong in the finals in the 500 free. Schmidt is at the top of the screen as you saw, she gets to the wall. Schmidt with an individual podium finish for the first time. Nice way to end the Cardinals' career. Relays have been a strength for the Cardinals all season, and that trend continues. The best finish comes from the 200 freestyle relay team that also missed a trip to state by less than a half a second. Ella Hacker led it off, followed by junior MIKAYLA D'Souza. Then it was sophomore Caitlin Robinson and junior Laura McCarr handing the second half. They finished with a solid time of 1:42.91. Another podium finish, as you see here, for the Cardinals. Another narrow miss for the state. As a team, the Cardinals finished 7th, just 1 point behind 6th place Duluth East.
Yeah, so close to getting into that 6th place spot. There's some of the other impressive finishes. 5th place in the 400 freestyle relay, 7th in the 200 medley relay. Junkosa, just a 7th grader.
Yep.
Is their top diver, finishing in 9th place. Caitlin Robinson was 14th in the 200 freestyle. Laura McCarr was, Caitlin Robinson also 9th place in the 100 butterfly, which means she won the consolation heat, which is a nice way for her. Just a sophomore. Laura McCarr had a nice race in the 50 free. MIKAYLA D'Souza, she and MIKAYLA D'Souza tied for 15th place in that event. MIKAYLA D'Souza also 15th place in the 100 free, and Laura McCarr was 16th in the 100 free. So they were together in one and right next to one another in another one of their final events. Ella Hacker on her way to the state championship starting on Thursday at the University of Minnesota Aquatic Center. So close to qualifying in 2 different events, but very best of luck to her as she competes in the 100 butterfly.
We definitely wish her the best of luck.
Well, getting Ella to the state tournament is a great way to finish the season for the swimming and diving team, and a great way for Hacker to finish her high school career. She's just one of several strong leaders the team will lose to graduation, but these seasons saw the emergence of a solid group that is ready to take this team to the next level. The girls swimming and diving team started the season knowing they had a huge task ahead of them, trying to replace a legend. Megan Schultz set school records in every event, but she also passed along a dedication and work ethic that would help her team move on once she was gone. The Cardinals didn't waste time worrying about what they'd lost. They immediately started working with what they had. Fortunately, they returned a solid group that was ready to step up, and they had a lot of new athletes eager to learn and ready to work. While the team didn't have a lot of success when it comes to wins and losses, they make great strides every time they hit the water. The Cardinals leaders were guaranteed to get them points in every meet, and every girl on the roster continued to get stronger, smoother, and faster. Their improvements finally paid off in the Northwest Suburban Tournament meet. The Cardinals beat both Park Center and Osseo in the tri-meet to claim 11th place in the conference. The Cardinals will lose a total of 6 seniors, including state entrant Ella Hacker, as well as Emma Schmidt, who were the team's 2 most consistent finishers. But they will return some very strong athletes that showed amazing improvements this season. Juniors Laura McCarr, MIKAYLA D'Souza, and Eleanor Defoe scored big points for the team, and sophomore Caitlin Robinson was the Cardinals' breakout performer. Behind them, the Cardinals had contributions from every grade level, with girls as young as 7th grade making a splash for the varsity squad. Rebuilding is never an easy process, but it's a fact for all high school programs. Cardinals lost a great group in 2020, and they moved on. They will have to do the same again next season. But the group that suited up for the Cardinals this year set a foundation and showed they have the pieces needed to continue to build the team back to a contender for years to come. There is a look at your swimming and diving seniors: Claire Hartung, Ella Hacker, Emma Schmidt, Ella Smith-Jeanette, Ella Cassidy, and Natalie Falk. And believe it or not, that's just 3 of the 4 Ellas on the team this year. I was actually looking through some scores, and for the Anoka meet, which was like their last regular season meet, they put out a relay of the 4 Ellas.
I like it. I definitely like that.
You only get one chance to do that. I mean, very rarely are you going to have that. But those are some big names.
Yes, they are.
Big pieces that have been, they were supporting cast up until this year.
Right.
Really took the lead and did a nice job of doing that. You know, we talk about it every year. It's not just about winning and losing, especially with the individual sports like swimming, running. When you're competing your best and you're going your fastest at the end of the year, that's success.
Absolutely. Well, the tennis team is always the first to start and the first to finish the fall season, and the Cardinals made some nice progress this season. There's still a ways to go to get the program back to where it was just a few years ago, and once again, they'll be hit hard by graduation. At the same time, they have a couple of girls that gained invaluable experience this season and look ready to carry the team into the future.
The Cardinals started the season without a lot of varsity experience, despite having a great group of seniors leading the way. And they had to learn fast, opening the schedule with back-to-back tournaments that included some of the top teams in the state. They just went 2-4 in those matches, but they got a great idea about what they had to work with and what they needed to improve on in order to get where they wanted to be. Unfortunately, their conference is stacked with top teams that would keep them from getting much traction throughout the year. There were plenty of positives to take away, though. The Cardinals were able to post a respectable 8-16 record, including going 3-2 in matches decided by a single point. They were playing their best tennis at the end of the season and scored a first-round win in the section tournament. Their top doubles team also won its first-round match at sections, and the 2 Cardinals double teams were eliminated by the 2 teams that met in the state championship. The Cardinals will lose 7 seniors who played nearly every match, but they will return some players that made impressive strides this season. Freshman Gabby Newton played in the top single spot all year and proved it is where she belongs. She will be back to lead the team in the future, along with Brooklyn Nienaber, who posted an impressive record playing 3rd and 4th singles this season. Zoe Scheck, Lily Newton, and Caitlin Caminetti were all big pieces of the doubles lineup this year, along with a handful of other underclassmen that got some varsity experience. The road ahead won't be easy, but the Cardinals will return to the court with more experience next season. They hope this year will serve as a springboard that will vault this program back into the mix toward the top of the conference standings.
And there they are, Grace Graham, Jennifer Carlson, Mary Olson, Emily Nicholas, Abby Ness, Kelsey Goldman, and Trinity. I don't want to butcher your name, so I'm just going to say Trinity M. But you know, one of the great things about the senior group is a couple of those girls only played Grace Graham only played the 1 year.
Right.
And a couple of others only played 2 years. And the only reason they came over to the team last year was because volleyball had been pushed to the spring because of COVID. And then they ended up playing both tennis and volleyball just because of the way things worked out last year. And when it came time to decide which they wanted to do this year, they both chose tennis because of the atmosphere, because of the team, the way Coach Stork runs things, and just how much fun they were having playing the game, and that's great. And the other thing is, you know, most of those seniors, 2- and 3-sport athletes, so that's some great leadership that they'll have to do without.
They're going to lose some athletes, but they also have some younger athletes that got, as we mentioned, got a lot of great time this year. Right at
Gabby
the top.
Newton, very impressive.
Very impressive.
It'll be interesting to watch her. Brooklyn Nienaber was very strong. Lily Newton, I'll be interested to see where Lily ends up. Lily will be a senior next year. She spent the whole season in doubles. Will she stay and be one of the top doubles players, or will they move her up and have a little more experience in the singles lineup? And it's very possible she'll be playing both singles and doubles because Coach Stork likes to move pieces around. Well, the saying goes that you have to start somewhere, and that's the case for the volleyball team for Coon Rapids. The Cardinals lost a lot to graduation after last year's short season. They also lost their coach. So they came into this season with a new head coach and a lot of girls stepping up into much bigger roles. Anytime there is this much transition, it's understandable when things don't go smoothly. Looking at the record and results, most would say the Cardinals' season was downright rough. But a lot of the matches were closer than they look on paper. The Cardinals started the season with a senior-heavy lineup, but only limited varsity experience. All of them had some playing time, but only a couple were regulars on the floor at big moments in big matches.
Rye with a solid kill.
The Cardinals managed just 3 wins all season. A 4-set victory over St. Francis in mid-September, a sweep of conference opponent Armstrong, and a 2-0 win over Princeton at the Jefferson tournament in mid-October. While the majority of their losses were in straight sets, the score of each set was close most of the time, and the team was clearly playing cleaner, stronger volleyball at the end of the year.
Attack by Rye off the block, and she gets the kill.
New head coach Janine Crooks asked the Cardinals to do things differently than they had in the past, and she leaned heavily on her senior class. But there were a number of underclassmen who got big minutes this year and gained invaluable experience. The Cardinals will lose 6 players to graduation, including MIKAYLA Wilber, who has been a leader on the attack the past 3 years. But what they have coming back is very exciting. Sophomores Tatum Shevchuk and Soraya Rye, and juniors Kate Califoot and Tyra Favaseth, among others, played key roles in every match this year.
Attacking kill for Tatum Shevchuk.
The most important takeaway from the Cardinals season should be that they progressively got better, and they were playing their best volleyball at the end of the season. Coach Crooks and her returning players will have more experience when they take the court again, and they hope to continue that progression into 2022. And there are your volleyball seniors: MIKAYLA Wilber, Olivia Fredrickson, Emma Wolitka, Madison Fowler, Bella Bresnahan, and Seda Green. A number of them big pieces for the last couple of seasons.
Absolutely.
MIKAYLA Wilber, most definitely. Seda Green was their assist leader this year. Bella Bresnahan, a force at the net offensively and defensively. But that's turnover, and that's high school. That's the way it goes. I'm very excited about a couple of the pieces that we got to see a lot of this this year to see what they do moving forward, particularly Shevchuk and Rye, who are just sophomores but played a lot of minutes this year. Tatum Shevchuk, not a 6-footer, but proved to be a dangerous attacker. So Rye has some size. She'll be a force at the net.
And talking to Coach Crooks right before the section match this year, we talked a little bit about how she has seen the team progress. And said basically our record may not show it, but these girls have really done a nice job of doing better as match went to match to match to match. And so she's hoping that a lot of the stuff that they learned, some of the younger players, takes over for next season.
Only time will tell.
Yes. Well, the cross-country team started the season not really knowing what to expect, but hoping for the best. Both Cardinal teams were very young, and they also had great numbers on both boys and girls squads. They finished the year running their best races, and they have clearly set a foundation for the future of both teams.
Competing with no pressure can be an incredible bonus for any athlete, and that's exactly how the season started for the Cardinals cross-country teams. They had a solid influx of athletes, so while they didn't have a lot of varsity experience, they had a ton of potential. They had no expectations other than continuing to work and improve, and that's just what they did. The few veterans they had proved to be good leaders for all the younger and less experienced teammates. And those who were newer to the sport, they learned, they grew, and they continued to compete harder and run faster. The experience they gained throughout the season will pay big dividends for both teams moving forward. The Cardinals were able to hold their own in huge crowded fields, something that was noticeably missing last year when COVID restrictions changed how cross-country races were run. They also got to compete in some big tournaments that were canceled last season. Neither team had a lot of success when it comes to how they finished the races as a team, but individually, they continued to set new standards. At the end, the Cardinals had 9 of the 14 runners at the section championship turn in personal best times, and another had a season best. That is progress, and that makes the season a success. The Cardinals will lose some seniors, but they return much more than they lose. The boys team had a little more experience to start the season, and they found a little more success on the course this year. 2 of the 7 competitors at sections were seniors, but neither factored into the team score. Their one all-conference runner is just a freshman, and they had a junior grab honorable mention. On the girls' side, the youth movement is even more evident. Senior captains Lila Gilliard and Julie Hedlund were a big part of the team score at every race. But the others on the section roster included 2 freshmen, 2 8th graders, and a 7th grader, Ruby Demmer, who posted the team's best time in the biggest race of the year. The Cardinals should be proud of what they accomplished this season, but they should be even more excited about what they could accomplish in the years to come.
And I think that is definitely the theme. There you see the seniors, a lot more seniors on the boys' side. Yep. Josh Thoen, Joey Dunn, Ryan Powley, Ben Jurgensen, Alex Beck, Alec Machinsky, Mark Danik, and Eli Christensen. For the girls, just Lila Gilliard, Julie Hedlund, and MIKAYLA Lowe. But when you look at it, for the boys, all of the scoring runs at sections were underclassmen.
Right.
For the girls, they did have 2 seniors, but everyone else is so young.
Which is great.
Down to 7th grade, and for Demmer to be posting the best time at sections as a 7th grader is outstanding. That means that's great news for the future of the program. You may remember that last year they started, the girls team only had like 10 or 12 girls at the beginning of last season. So just to see the growth in the program numbers wise on both boys and girls side is very encouraging. And I know that Coach Denny Green on his blog is very complimentary of how well everybody has been improving. But we got to keep it moving. 2021, an outstanding year for both Cardinals soccer programs. We'll start with the boys team that finished with their best record since 2012. Cardinals started the season with new co-head coaches Tyler Seidel and Blake Brackett. They had a simple philosophy, and it paid big dividends in year 1. The Cardinals put teams on notice from the season opener that they would be a tough contender every time they took the field. They shut out a very good Andover team in Game 1, and after stumbling against Park Center Game 2, Cardinals reeled off 4 straight wins, all against conference opponents. Seidel and Brackett pushed every player to be their best every chance they got. As the coaches, they just had to put the pieces in place and let the kids play the game. They stressed ball pressure and team defense, and that was key, especially in their early season success. 3 of their first 5 wins were by shutout, and another they allowed just 1 goal. Unfortunately, the season was a bit streaky, and the Cardinals had to ride the waves to the end. Cardinals were shut out themselves in 3 straight losses and ended the regular season on another game skid that included 2 games they lost by a single goal. Still, the 7-7 record is the Cardinals' best in 9 seasons. It earned them their first home playoff game since 2017 and led to their first section tournament win since that same year. Cardinals blanked the Anoka Tornadoes 2-0 in the quarterfinals, but the season ended in a 1-0 loss to Centennial in the semis. The Cardinals will lose 8 seniors. Several were impact players this season, but none more so than Coon Harmon. Harmon led the Cardinals in pretty much every way, including 20 goals and 5 assists. He will leave a huge hole at the top of the attack next fall. But the Cardinals have reason to be optimistic everywhere they look. Sophomore goalkeeper Luke Rising was a big part of the team's success with 5 shutouts this year. Fellow sophomore Ben Kish was the Cardinals' sweeper and free kick specialist, and junior Yaya Sidibe was second on the team in scoring and has dangerous speed and ball skills. The Cardinals got contributions from every grade level, including a couple of freshmen that were regular varsity starters at the end. So they should have plenty of tools in the shed when they go back to work next season. Only time will tell if this type of success becomes a tradition. But this year's squad took a giant leap, hoping the Cardinals of the future will fly higher and further. What a season it was for the boys soccer team. Mandua, Ali, Wagner, Y, Fatty, Castillo, Ahmed, and finally, Coon Harmon. What a joy it has been to watch that young man play soccer. Definitely one of the better players that we've seen in 25 years.
Maybe the best player we've seen in the one of, I don't know.
He's up there.
He's
up there.
definitely top 3. I think.
Yeah, probably.
Well, the Lady Cardinals also had an outstanding season, especially the way they started. They put together one of the most impressive soccer shutout streaks in recent memory that had people on notice about the Cardinals' stingy defense. Unfortunately, it couldn't last forever, and defense is great, but you have to score to win.
The Cardinals opened the schedule against Centennial, a team they hadn't scored against in several meetings, and a team that had become the eventual state runner-up. After falling behind 4-0 in the first half, the Cardinals shut the defensive door. They scored the only goal of the second half and didn't give up another goal for 4.5 games. Big conference wins over Park Center, Armstrong, and Anoka bolstered the squad to a 3-1-1 start.
Great benefit. Here's a goal for the Cardinals.
They were clicking at both ends of the field, with the offense averaging just shy of 3 goals per game, and the goals against, an impressive 0.8. Even more impressive when you remember all 4 goals were allowed in the first half of game number 1.
And the Cardinals score! It's back to a 1-goal game with 2:43 to go.
Then the tides turned. Teams started finding ways to score against the Cardinals, while the offense struggled to find the rhythm it had early in the year. The Cardinals went just 2-8 through the remainder of their schedule. They were the 5th seed in the section tournament and surrendered a late second-half goal to lose 2-1 to Duluth East in the quarterfinals. The Cardinals will be hit hard by graduation, losing a total of 9 players, including their goalkeeper, Maddie Reinhardt, most of their leading scorers and top defenders and kick specialists. Several underclassmen stepped up nicely for the team this season, but they'll be expected to do a lot more when the season starts again next fall. The Cardinals have only posted a better record than this once in the past 5 seasons, so 2021 was a step forward for the program. With all the losses they'll suffer, the challenge for next season will be trying to push the program even further, striving for a winning record, which hasn't been done since 2015.
There it is. That's some big names to be certain. Belinda Griffith, Anna Kepke, Rory Ritzenaya, Sophia Delfrati, Molly Knobloch, Gianna Isaacs, Maddie Reinhardt, Bailey Payne, Molly Terabeza, and Ava Kerr. And yeah, it will be a lot for them to make up for. But You know, they played a great season,
They did.
especially the way they started. We'll see what they're able to achieve in 2022. Well, last but certainly not least, the Cardinals football team struggled this year against a tough schedule that led to a 6A tournament game against one of the best teams in the state. There are plenty of positives to take away from the season, but whether lessons were learned is yet to be seen. Cardinals will lose some huge pieces, but we also saw some new stars beginning to emerge in 2021. Anyone involved with the football program would likely admit the season didn't live up to expectations. Cardinals managed just 2 wins, and those came by a combined 4 points. The Cardinals were steamrolled by a couple of high-power offenses they faced and lost a couple of other games that could have easily gone the other way. The Cardinals were plagued by common problems: too many turnovers, too many big plays allowed, and too many bad penalties coming at inopportune times.
To right, handoff, Gbley, end zone. Cardinals back in front.
But this is a program still rebuilding after the state tournament run in 2019. The pandemic-shortened season last year didn't help. So this year's squad had a lot of new faces in a lot of new places, and they grew as the schedule wore on. The Cardinals will lose some strong leaders again to graduation, the last holdovers from the state semifinal team. The list includes starting quarterback Josh DuBois and several defensive stars like Octavian Podubny, James Kennedy, and Max Walls. But undoubtedly the biggest loss will be David Gbley, who led the team in rushing for the 3rd straight season. Despite missing 2 games, Gbley averaged more than 6.5 yards per carry and over 100 yards per game this season.
Here's Gbley, big bonus, blowing through a hole and getting down the sidelines. 1 man to beat, touchdown Coon Rapids.
But they will have a lot coming back. Junior running back Kingsley Freeman proved himself capable when Gbley went down, and the entire receiving corps was underclassmen. Sophomore Kyjon Cummings-Coleman is a deep threat that also played really well out of the backfield. His classmates Jared Fearing and Lofton Obrowski, along with juniors Logan Stockhausen and Dominic Ullman, also were big factors in the passing game.
Cummings-Coleman has it, touchdown.
Boy, it was a beautiful pass.
On defense, junior Eric Gonda led the team in tackles, followed closely by sophomore Logan Netz. So the Cardinals took their lumps this year, but it's a young team that will return with solid experience on both sides of the ball next fall. And there are your seniors: Muhammad, David Gbley, Timmy Horst, Elijah Smith, Josh DuBois, Max Walls, Jacob Kiffmeyer, Nathan Kavanaugh, Darius Hewlin, and Josh Cullen. And there's the second page. Hawkinson, Gblue, Podubny, missed that name, Morosilo, Awada, Dowdle, Khan, Samet, Kennedy, and Gatawe. James Kennedy, a big force in the middle. He's been fun to watch. Octavian Podubny, great name. Also a fun player to watch on the defensive side.
And Dowdell, too, also played well on the defensive side.
But David Gbley, what an impressive player, and what a huge loss that will be. And he played in the section game. He played defense and was one of their tackles leaders as well.
Yeah, he was a phenomenal player here at Coon Rapids, and he definitely will be missed. But, you talked about all the underclassmen that definitely stepped up this season and had a lot of quality minutes, and so that's going to help them going into next year. And then just hope they can develop some of the younger players as well.
Well, and it never gets easier, definitely not in this league. Here's what we have coming up: a whole lot of girls hockey, because they're the only ones going so far. They're at Buffalo on Tuesday, hosting Blaine at the Forum on Saturday. They'll be at Centennial on Tuesday, the 23rd. We'll have all that action for you right here live on CTN. But that's going to do it for this edition of Sportsnight. We want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young, saying goodnight.